Hold on tight. It's time again for the ride of your life at Capital Ford. And the ride of your life begins now with employee pricing for everyone on new Fords. You pay what Ford employees pay. Employee pricing means buy a new 2025 Ford F-150 for just $599 a month. Or buy a new 2025 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, only $499 a month during our Ride of Your Life event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Hitting you with the triple. Hey there, my name's Ryan Tamori. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. And it just dawned on me. Perfect. I'm through road. All right. Nothing like starting off the show like that. I'm clean shaven and I look like a baby's bottom. Busy show for you tonight. 8:15. Mike Cooper from the Scarlet Standard. We're going to talk some UNLV football. Times they are changing over there. Been a very good program the last couple of years under Barry Odom, now Dan Mullen. They have played for the Mountain West Conference twice in the last 2 years, unfortunately falling to Boise State. At 9 o'clock, looking to talk to him. And then we'll be in Vegas next week for Mountain West Conference Football Media Days. So we'll give you a list of the coverage early next week on what we're going to do. 8:45-ish, 9-ish, in between that time frame. One of my... from UNM, and I absolutely love this guy because he's funny, but he has a lot of interesting stories to tell. He worked for Alford, I think as a graduate assistant, and he knows Ryan Berryman. He's an account executive for Playfly, and he'll explain what Playfly is. It has to do with licensing with UNM. I don't want to mess that up. Nate Strong. I'm excited to have Nate on. Nasty Nate. He's a funny guy. Looking forward to it. To my co-host tonight, the younger, more attractive, more successful. I'm just stealing a joke from The Simpsons. It's very bad. I call him Steven Seagal Lawman, even though he's not a cop. Mr. Nick Nunez, a play-by-play producer for ProView, and he's a lawyer on the side. But I will hit you with the Law and Order. How are you doing, Nick?
Dude, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the Law and Order for the intro. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm excited for you guys. You guys will be in Vegas. You guys get there on Tuesday. It's going to be awesome next week with the coverage. and really excited for our guests, our first guest and our second guest, two good guests tonight. But Mike Cooper, solid writer from UNLV, man. I've read his stuff on the Scarlet Standard. I would encourage all of our listeners to follow him at Cooper Mike LV on X. Puts a lot of good written content out. So just really excited to get talking with him, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I've been impressed with his stuff. I talked to him, and he's not a journalist or print by any means. It was just a passion. So that's quite impressive. Let me do some house cleaning, and then we'll get into it. Yeah, no, it's not Mike Cooper tonight, John. It's I didn't even think about that because I was referring to him as Mike Cooper. If we had Michael Cooper on, it would have been Michael Cooper, and we would have made a bigger announcement, and he probably would have had his own show. So it should. It does say the Scarlet Standard in the title, which would probably resonate that it's not Los Angeles Laker Showtime. Michael Cooper. Let's see. UNLV Rebels will go 10. Hey, Tommy Gunn, famed porn star and guy who Rocky beat in the terrible Rocky 5 movie. Tommy, how you doing? The Rebels will go 10-2, play Boise State in the Mountain West Championship game again. Yeah, Tommy Gunn. Hey, good talking to you. We got viewers in Las Vegas. What's up, man? Yeah, let me do some house cleaning, then we'll bring Mike Cooper on. Not that Michael Cooper. I don't even know how I didn't think about that. Anyway, all righty. Let's see. I had this stuff up, and then Windows screws me. Okay, there we go. The Pit Press Plus is your all-access pass to a great way to open the show. I can see people turning us off. Your all-access pass to the Heart and Hustle of the University of New Mexico Athletic Department. With a monthly or yearly subscription, you'll unlock behind-the-scenes stories you won't hear anywhere else. Whether you're a diehard fan, a stats junkie, or just here for the spicy room locker gossip, the Pit Press Plus has something for you. Subscribe today. Support local journalism. As I always say, Jeff, Sean over at the Journal, Will and Mr. Barone over at the Santa Fe New Mexican. I went on 1017 ESPN Radio yesterday with Adam Deal. Give those guys a listen. Everybody knows how I feel about the shitty afternoon show on 610, but listen to Jeff and JJ in the morning on there. And remember, Real Lobos don't settle for the sidelines. $2 a month or $25 for the year. We're still running a special $19.99. All Lobo, no filter. Go to the pitpressnm.com. Stay in the loop with Lobo Sports. Follow the Pit Press for exclusive updates, interviews, and behind-the-scenes content. Find us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at the Pit Press NM, and we're on TikTok at the Pit Press, which I know nothing about. Thank you, Jeffrey Gordon. Not that Jeff Gordon. That didn't resonate with me. Keep you updated together on the Together We Howl series. Don't have any more news on that front. So, Nick, you wrote about it. I'll just get your thoughts real quick, because you didn't join us on Tuesday. Your thoughts on GCU, join the Mountain West Conference a year early.
It's great, man. Within the geographical footprint, they are in a major market in Phoenix, the 5th biggest city in the United States. So I think it brings a lot of viewership. Hopefully we hear about the Mountain West media deal that may be announced maybe next week at Mountain West Media Days for football. That'd be a great time. But I think GCU is a great addition to the Mountain West Conference. Excited for their men's and women's basketball teams to come to the Pit. And it's only a 6-hour drive. I think you're going to see fans traveling. Great rivalry, great program.
My friend Steven and we and a couple other guys, we went to a concert in Phoenix 20-some years ago. And he drove and we hauled ass, and we got to Phoenix in like 4 hours. I don't know how we never got pulled over. I wasn't behind the wheel, but if you drive like that, you can be there in 4 hours. I feel very bad changing topics. I feel bad for Brian Wu. He lost a no-hit bid in the 8th tonight, and then the Yankees proceeded to tie the game with the Mariners. So rough night for him. Tommy Gunn, going back to you. Love GCU. Add the Pit and Las Vegas are natural fits. They don't play in the Pit. I apologize, Tommy Gunn. I don't understand that comment. Diego Romero, I'm addicted to the show every morning with my coffee. 10 out of 10. Hey, wow. That's impressive. All right.
To you, Ryan. They're addicted to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They would rather tell me to go expletive myself. All right. I'm not going to make our next. Why do I even host the show? I'm not, and I have my hand in front of my face. I'm not going to make our next guest wait any longer, and I'm happy to bring him on board. I never cease to amaze myself. I'm very sorry. I usually have a better intro for everybody, and I actually deleted your intro from the Scarlet Standard. I'm going to do this off the cusp, but Eric, my business partner, Eric Malton, has been sending me your stuff, and I thought you were a journalist. You were like, "No, I'm not. I do it in my spare time." I'm like, "Damn, you're better than I do." If you want to know anything about UNLV football currently, I think from an X's and O's standpoint and the conference realignment, check out the Scarlet Standard, and then Mike Cooper, not that Mike Cooper. Sorry.
I do get that all the time, so it wouldn't be anything new.
Well, we have a guy that joins our show that goes by Jeffrey Gordon, so he gets that all the time. But Mike, I will let you introduce yourself and share with our listeners and viewers what the Scarlet Standard is and what you do.
So, obviously, my name is Mike. I started this Scarlet Standard back in April. It was kind of a passion project for me. Obviously, you guys know Vegas media is not really big on UNLV. So I wanted to get a voice out there for fans to actually read, especially during the offseason. It actually kind of started former Rebel Mike Moser DM me on Instagram. And he saw some of my tweets about UNLV, and he mentioned that he was like, you know what, you should start writing about this stuff if you're really passionate about what you believe in. So I just kind of started my Substack based off of that, and then next thing you know, it's just kind of taken off. I have a full-time job, but at the end of the day, I still try to get as much news, as much information out there for Rebel fans and for anybody who wants to read really as possible.
Like I said, my business partner, Eric Malton, is was sending me your stuff, and I was like, okay, I got to check this out. And you're a UNM, and I recommend all of our viewers to go check it out if you're interested in UNLV. I'm fascinated by the city of Las Vegas, and I'll be there on Tuesday. But you're a UNLV alumni. Just a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, I graduated from UNLV in 2021. My college experience, from the sports side was very interesting. My freshman year, we had Dave Rice and his fire debacle, and then turned into Marvin Menzies, and then COVID hit. So from the basketball perspective, it was a little interesting. But yeah, it was, I do this because I like it. I looked into, you kind of mentioned to me when we were texting a little bit back and forth of, if I had my credentials, and I looked into it, and just the way that UNLV does it, I decided not to get my credentials because it really restricts your creative freedom. And I wanted to be able to, I'm doing a current series where I'm interviewing players. I currently actually interviewed 3 players before I just hopped on. So that was kind of fun.
Very cool.
But yeah, I would have had to go through the athletic department to do that instead of me just reaching out to them and them reaching out to me, really. And so I kind of just, I want fans with my writing to feel, an actual sense of purpose behind it, not just a yes man type answer.
That's I like that a lot. That's a very good answer. How did you involve? I mean, I know it's been April, but how have you evolved since April with the Scarlet Standard?
I'm currently I just hit 105 subscribers to my Substack. I get about 7,000 reads a month right now. So it's taken off, and I'm starting to get a decent platform. I have a pretty good platform on Twitter. Whether you like me, you don't like me, you're a fan of Oregon State fans, really really like me. Them and Boise fans are probably my biggest supporters right now. But I like to just I like to speak my mind. If it's something just like the Grand Canyon addition to the conference. I think it's petty that people are upset, but I think it's great too that it's great engagement for anything.
What do you think? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you what you thought about the GCU move to the Mountain West.
I think that Gloria made a power move, in my opinion, because as soon as those schools entered their agreements to leave the Pac-12, they lost their voting rights. And you know that, with the Grand Canyon was looking for a home, they tried to join the WCC and that kind of fell apart. So for all their 17 sports that are joining the Mountain West, they were looking for a new home. And it kind of just, was kind of a match made in heaven. UNLV, New Mexico, even Reno, they're not going to say no to Grand Canyon joining, especially on the basketball front when you can have those kinds of matchups where it's going to be, the leaving San Diego State versus Grand Canyon, the leaving Boise State and Utah States against Grand Canyon. Those are going to be great for rating purpose.
No, gotcha. What's the and I'll switch to UNLV football now. What's the one storyline you feel that national media and people outside of Vegas and maybe the local media in Vegas are missing about UNLV football right now?
I think a lot of the attention's on Mullen's return. A lot of the national media is focused on Dan Mullen, his return to college football. What is UNLV going to look like? How many ESPN and national features has he been on? Especially, since December, since he got the job. I don't think I've ever seen UNLV that publicized on a national front, other than, I guess you can say, the Sluka situation last year. But I think the very underrated piece that people are missing, and I've heard it on a lot of these player interviews because a lot of them are Power 5 guys that are going to UNLV. A lot of these guys just want their shot. They know that they have 1 year, 1 or 2 years left. They want to prove themselves. And I've had, I spoke to, who was it? It was Varkey's Gums, the tight end transfer from North Texas and Arkansas. And he said that, he knows a little bit about the VGK history and how they called themselves the Misfits. And he brought up that that's what they are, a band of misfit guys that maybe have not had their own story written, that they know that every snap could be their last. And I think that people misconceive that as, oh, it's just a bunch of Power 5 guys going to a G6 or a G5. How is that going to end up on paper?
That's pretty interesting. I don't know. I would probably say that they got as much. When you said you had never see that much national recognition. I know with the football program. I was alive, but I wasn't that old, and Larry Johnson is one of my favorite players of all time because I'm a Knicks guy. I'm a Knicks fan, so I have a UNLV Running Rebels Mitchell and Ness Larry Johnson jersey, and I have a championship hat up there just because I loved those teams. And you're talking to a UNM alumni, not that matters, but I'm a big Larry Johnson guy, so I'm throwing it out there. I know that.
What do you think of them bringing back Ogman on the staff?
It's pretty cool. It's I don't, you saw how Patrick Ewing worked out at Georgetown and how Scott Frost worked out at Nebraska. But if he's on the staff, I'm interested to see what Josh Pastner is going to do. But he could be a great assistant coach. I think it's cool just because he has that history with UNLV. So I think that is really cool.
Yeah, he got brought on as like a director of community engagement, or a role similar to that. So he was Pastner's last hire as an assistant.
I saw he got hired. I did not know that was the title, but that's pretty cool. And that's a big name. I don't know if the young guys would know that name. I do. Just keeping with football, how would you describe the cultural shift? Now, I know you've only been doing this since April, but what have you noticed the cultural shift between Dan Mullen compared to Barry Odom? I had the pleasure of meeting Barry Odom. He changed the program. I can't think of the coach's name before Barry Odom. He got fired.
Marcus Arroyo.
Yeah, that's it. What's the cultural shift been that you noticed from Barry Odom to Dan Mullen now?
So I've been going to UNLV games since I was, in diapers. My parents are both alumni. So, I've kind of seen it all a little bit. It's, in my opinion, when you went from, I'll even go a little bit before Arroyo, you go to Sanchez. They made the high school hire from Bishop Gorman. He almost got them there, had, quarterback injury problems. Then, he was fired. The highlight of the basically Sanchez era was him getting Fertitta built. getting the fundraising to get the complex built. Then you go to they tried the big time big school assistant route with Arroyo. The culture, it's hard to gauge on what the true culture was because COVID really restricted a lot of things. So recruiting was different, the environment was different. He didn't really have fans in the stadium at the time. So Marcus went 0-6 his first year, won 2 games his second year. And that third year, I think a lot of people around the program, that was Harper's first year as AD. And now that year they thought that was the time that UNLV was going to take a big step forward. And they started out that year 4-1 and ended up 5-7. So Harper let him go and brought in Barry. Barry he's not the flashiest. He bought into the culture of the hardworking side of Vegas, but he wasn't the most vocal. But when he spoke, people listened. He kind of rallied around, do it for Vegas, do it for the city, do it for the hardworking people in the community. And when UNLV started winning, you could just feel. Arroyo towards the end was probably getting about 15 to 20,000 in Allegiant. Those first couple games at Allegiant, you could just feel the momentum start to shift. And when they're 4-1, getting the momentum. The next thing there's 25, 30,000 inside of Allegiant. And then they make the Mountain West Championship, which nobody expected them to that first year under Barry Odom. And you never know because John Robinson had his flashes when he was at UNLV. And, he had his big bowl run. And then after that, kind of flamed out, ended up getting fired. So you never really knew what was going to be the expectation. And, especially at that point, that was their third winning season, basically since 2000. You don't really know where the program is going. And they took that massive leap that, beating Houston on the road to open the year, coming back, really putting a lay down on the FCS school, and then going back and beating Kansas the way that they did. It just got the hype train rolling. It didn't even stop when they had Boise. And for the Boise game, they had 43,000 fans inside of Allegiant Stadium. And that was on the night that the Golden Knights played the same time. Golden Knights are selling out every game. They're getting 19, 20, 18, 19,000 in there. And the momentum just kept rolling, and you could just feel the shift in the community. And I think a lot of people knew, I think around here had a feeling that Barry was going to leave. He wasn't going to be here long term. But, everybody, I think every UNLV fan is grateful for what he did here. And I don't think any UNLV fan expected them to hire Dan Mullen. Not with somebody with that pedigree, not with somebody with that resume, especially, they're paying him $3.5 million a year. That's kind of unprecedented for a group of 5 level school. So I think you can start feeling that there's some very high momentum. And obviously you guys can kind of see it with how UNLV fans engage. It's, they want to keep this rolling. A lot of fans feel we have the facilities, we have Allegiant, we have a big name coach. The train can't stop. And I think that, I think that you may see if they're 2-0 going into that UCLA game week 2, because they have the Idaho State game week 0 now, I think you can probably see 50,000 plus inside of Allegiant for that UCLA game.
Mike, want to switch gears with you here a little bit. You wrote a piece on Substack that you tweeted out probably a couple weeks ago in late June. It was about the CBS's media deal with the Pac-12, titled "CBS Picks a Side and the Mountain West Just Got Replaced," published June 23rd on Substack. Gloria Nevarez, I think on June 29th, made some comments on the Mountain West, said that the Mountain West was maybe close to announcing a new media deal. Do you think the Mountain West announces a media deal next week at Mountain West Media Days for football?
I think that's ideal. I think that especially you have to think with the mediation ending on the 15th, or at least scheduled to end on the 15th, with the addition of Grand Canyon, I think you have to expect something is coming. I wrote that piece with the information that I had. Basically the Pac-12 deal was a carbon copy of what the Mountain West already previously had. So there are potential slots in there somewhere, especially if they can get, I would assume, you have UNLV's brand, the Northern Illinois brand, the UTEP brand, things like that. Obviously New Mexico and the schools that stayed, I think they can still replace those schools that are playing, with like the Liberties and those, Kennesaws. They could probably have a better deal than that with CBS Sports, but I don't think you're going to get anywhere near to what they had with what they had in the Mountain West. I think that she's going to have to get creative. I think, I think the TNT side is, TNT, TBS, whatever the Pac-12 doesn't get. I think that's what she's going to try to swoop up. The only thing I hope is they don't end up on an ESPN Plus type deal. I think that, I want to keep it where people are accessible to watch the games. Get rid of the Mountain West Network games and try to at least get something on TV.
That makes sense, man. What do you think in terms of a number? I can't remember what the Pac-12's media rights deal per school will amount to. Most Mountain West schools under the current media rights deal, they get around $3.5 million. Boise State gets about $5.3 million. What do you think is a good number for each school under the new media rights deal? Do you have a prediction?
Anything I've read that's been pretty realistic reporting, the Chris Murray's from Reno Gazette, he does a great job. He's been pretty good covering most of this. I kind of agree on the lines of where he's headed. I think that the Pac-12, that 10 to 15 that they probably pushed is probably unrealistic. I think it's probably going to be closer to 8 to 10. And I think the new Mountain West deal is probably going to be somewhere between 3 and 5. I think it's going to disappoint some fans, with the ones that have the lofty expectations. But realistically, I've been very adamant that the Pac-12 and the Mountain West survive on 2 schools. Pac-12 survives on Boise or bust. And the Mountain West media deal right now, because it's such national attention, it's going to be UNLV or bust. I think at least on the football side, because that's going to be the biggest draw. Granted, what people underestimate is on the Mountain West side, you can say that with Northern Illinois, you can try to tap into the Chicago market, which is the market the Mountain West doesn't have. Texas, Mountain West can re-enter the Texas market, even if it is the El Paso, San Antonio kind of side, they can try to tap into that market. Obviously, you have the Vegas and Nevada market, New Mexico. I think that they have better markets than what people realize. It's just a matter of what number is these networks willing to pay. And I think that at the end of the day, it all matters on who keeps winning and who doesn't. I think that on the Pac side, it showed with Oregon State and Washington State how they got left and how they've been left out. It's nothing against those schools, but the media draw just isn't there that those fans expect. And the bigger draws are going to be your San Diego States, your Fresnos, your Boise's, even Colorado State. You can technically say that they can tap into the Denver market. Those markets are a lot bigger than the Pullman market and the Corvallis market.
Yeah, Mike, let's switch gears, talk a little house settlement. I assume UNLV has opted into the house settlement. I haven't read up on anything official, but I assume that's the case. Assuming that is so, do you know how much money UNLV will revenue share with student athletes next season?
It hasn't been reported anywhere yet. I don't have any information on what's being reported. The last thing that I saw that I reported on, let me find it real quick, was I recently, the RJ recently talked to Bill Paulos, the head of NIL for UNLV, and he said that they've opted in. They've opted into the revenue sharing. For football last year, they increased the NIL funding for football to $3 million, and they're trying to aim to double, triple those, according to what he's reported. And basketball was up to 1.5. So they're really amping up on the football side. So it'd be very, very interesting to see how they distribute that. There was recent talk from Harper that was reported that he said that there are some sports that are going to be unfairly underpaid, and they're okay with that. So it kind of seems like most of their revenue sharing is going to go to football and basketball. So it's going to be very, they've been very hush-hush on any NIL. It was leaked out how much, for example, D. Don Thomas made last year. but I don't know if those numbers were true, what numbers were accurate or not. But they said that, they doubled their basketball support when they hired Pastner, because Pastner is a hell of a fundraiser. And, he's very involved. He's been very involved in the community. But we'll see. I mean, those are just, reported numbers, but because they don't make those information public. So it's very interesting to see where they're going to go, what they're going to do, and how this is going to play out. I think that that's one of the things that I do believe is keeping players here. Like running backs like Jet Thomas and things like that. He, Marcel McDuffie, who was a big piece last year on defense, they said that they're staying. They said that they stayed because they were being loyal to the program. But, loyalty only goes so far when Alabama comes in and offers you $2 or $3 million.
Mike, while we're talking about NIL, man, can you just explain a little bit more what happened with Sluka last year? With the 4 games, the NIL money that I was promised I'm not going to get, so I quit, basically. Just what happened there? Can you speak more to that?
I don't have any inside knowledge. I know from what I've heard, and what I heard was basically there was talk that they were going to start implementing packages for Haj, and because Haj was a hell of a runner, everybody knew that. Sluka could run too, but they're going to implement specialty packages for Haj, and I don't know where it went wrong, who promised what. It's been reported. From what I've heard from people I know, it was Brennan Marion who promised him. You've heard anything. It's been position coaches to Brennan Marion that was just didn't happen. And what was publicly reported was he went and asked for money after they started 4-0, and UNLV didn't want to pay him. And because Barry was very under his NIL split, that was reportedly everybody made the same. And he didn't want anybody to be above the locker room, above the team. So I think Barry stood his ground. And even when Derek Stevens came out and said that he would pay it, I mean, if you looked at his stats, he was a great runner, but he couldn't throw the football. He had a 45% completion percentage. Not saying Haj was much better. Haj, I think, ended up in the low 60s, but you had a good backup behind him that the team rallied around. One of my interviews, I asked Caden McGee about the whole situation, and he said that even the team didn't know. He said the team found out when it was reported on ESPN and on social media, and when he put his name out there. And he said that the locker room had no idea. So I don't really know. I tried not to get in too much detail when I asked him, but asked those players. But it's also, there was more to it than I think that people understand. And I think that the truth is never going to truly come out on what happened with that.
We're speaking with Mike Cooper of the Scarlet Standard. Mike, just one more for you, and I'll throw it back over to Ryan. Speak to the atmosphere at Allegiant Stadium for UNLV football games. I tuned into a couple. I definitely watched that one against Boise State. It just looks like it's an electric atmosphere, and it's a great venue. Can you speak more about that?
I think it's a very, very underrated stadium that UNLV doesn't get a lot of credit for. Yes, it's out there. They rent their stadium. Everybody knows that, but the atmosphere is it's electric. You went from having, they averaged 32,000 fans at that Boise game. Like you mentioned, they set the game record that they've had in program history with 43,000. It was the most attended game. They even got, they were getting they got 41,000 when they played Reno. So, fans were coming out. It was electric. They really put on a show, and it was enjoyable to watch, and people didn't leave. They believed in that team. They were losing in fourth quarter. They stayed the whole game. It was very loud. And, it was a place too that, especially like the Boise game you mentioned, I will give Boise fans credit. They traveled for that game. There was probably, I would say the split was probably 70-30, but it was loud from both sides. And you could definitely feel it's a completely different feel than what was at Sam Boyd Stadium. That's for sure.
I went to a I went to a Las Vegas Bowl many years ago, and I was really quite shocked at how far Sam Boyd was away from the campus and the strip. I had a buddy of mine get his undergrad at UNLV, and I went out one I think our freshman year of college, and we drove to San Diego to see a Chargers game. But yeah, Sam Boyd, I couldn't believe it was that far away. What does Mullen's arrival signal about UNLV's long-term ambitions? Mountain West dominance, or maybe positioning itself for a Power 5 invite?
I think it's both. I think people make fun of UNLV because of their financial situation, and that's the reason why they stayed in the Mountain West. I mean, yes, they took a short-term payout over potentially going to the Pac-12, but I feel that they win. If people talk about how long is Mullen going to stay? Well, if he's only here for 3 years, that means UNLV did something special in those 3 years that he was here. So I believe that it's a positioning for both. I think that there's been a lot of reports that they have interest in going to the Big 12. They have interest going to the Pac-12 after their media deals up their deals up in 2031. I think that they're positioning themselves in a way to, if basketball can revive itself underneath Pastner, get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2013, if football can continue this upward trend that it's going, I think that they're trying to position themselves to be in the conversation for the Power 5. And I think that if you look at it from a football perspective, Mullen could turn UNLV into a desirable destination to go play at. You have the Vegas atmosphere. You have Allegiant Stadium. You have Fertitta Football Complex. It's a very desirable place, and it's gonna be very helpful for him on a recruiting trail. And you know what? There's been things too that have come out that have said that he may not want that pressure of that big job again. He may end up being comfortable at UNLV, so it could be a win-win for both sides. So I think it just really depends. They have to keep winning. I think that's the number one thing.
I would coach there in a heartbeat. That's just the way I feel. I would play or coach there in a heartbeat, given the city and how Vegas is boomed. That's just my opinion.
If you want to go off of that point, so when I spoke to Derek Garcia, their quarterback recruit, who they flipped from San Diego State, that was the vision Mullen sold. It wasn't it wasn't football, wasn't the program. It was the city of Las Vegas. It was Vegas is the capital. Derek kept saying Vegas is the capital of the world. It's the entertainment capital of the world with how football is going, with everything that goes on in that town. He said that the reason he committed to UNLV was for things that could potentially happen if he doesn't end up playing in the NFL, all the connections he could make in this town. I think that, Vegas is a very big town, but it's a small town at the same time. And I think that, if you're selling the vision of being here long-term, being able to build connections, building relationships, I think that goes a very long way.
I think that's a really good answer. This next question I have for you. Look, Nick and I both grew up here. I probably have a little bit more of Nick, what's probably the phrase or term I'm looking for? A connection with the UNM football team, given my Daily Lobo days, the student newspaper. But you've mentioned that UNLV tends to, quote, screw things up. I say that the UNM football program can't stay out of their way and that they, put a shotgun to their foot. What safeguards are, and you've written about that, what safeguards are in place to avoid repeating past missteps? I would imagine hiring somebody like a Dan Mullen.
I think if you look back over it, honestly, the frustration that I wrote about was going back to the Dave Rice debacle. Dave Rice was fired in December of that 2013 basketball season. It kind of, they had there's so many stories out there now that you don't know what's true and what's not. And, apparently what happened in that time burned a lot of bridges with relationships with guys like Ogman and guys from the past from the program. And, it kind of put a little hex over the basketball program. They haven't been back to the NCAA tournament since. And if you're looking at it, from a fan, a longer term fan perspective, football was always in the cellar. It was always 2 or 3 wins. The highlight of the season was, could they beat Reno or not? That was basically it. You expected them to win 2 or 3 games. If they won anything more than that, that was great. We had a solid season. I think, I'm 29 years old. I was born in 1996. They've been to 4 bowl games in my lifetime. It's, they've won 2 of them. But they've only been to 4. So when you had the expectation of, it was always the basketball school. And when they had started to have the debacle with Rice, then they hired, that was when they had the Chris Beard problem. Chris Beard left after 10 days to go to Texas Tech. You got stuck with Menzies. That turned into be a disaster. All while that your football program had 1 winning season. And then, you go through, during COVID, you hired Marcus Arroyo. They start 0-6. You had TJ Otzelberger as head coach, who never really wanted to be in Vegas. He always had one foot out. And then you had ADs that just weren't, there was always a disconnect between the athletic program, the ADs, and the president. And, you finally had, they have an interim president right now. Their president left in December. I'm not sure if Chris Heavey, who's the standing interim president, has been appointed full-time or not. But you have an AD that's trying to fully invest in taking a risk on athletics. That's why you see the $27 million budget deficit, because you're finally investing in athletics and in sports. This may be something they have never done. Granted, $27 million a lot. Absolutely, they'll figure it out. With the settlements, whatever it is. I've seen projections. Their budget got approved. It's supposed to break even, if not make money next year before even those Mountain West money come in. But at the end of the day, that's kind of where I was heading with that. Is like, I've written too that like the city finally has coaches who embrace the city. The city wanted excitement, and you got that from Barry. Now you have, probably the 2 of the most personality-wise personable coaches that you can get in Josh Pastner and Dan Mullen. I don't know which more you want to sell this town, but, Josh Pastner can probably sell me, can sell me anything and tell me that it makes Vegas gold.
Mike, want to switch gears and ask about UNLV basketball. Under Kruger, I felt like they were one of the most talented teams in the Mountain West Conference, but they were always kind of middle of the pack, and they just never seemed to really get over the hump. But Richard Pitino, I'm pretty sure, had a losing record against UNLV. We have always had problems with UNLV. Do you think they turned the page with Josh Pastner?
I think you finally see excitement around the program. I think Kruger, when TJ left, they went the safe route. Kruger was his assistant. They went cheap. They only paid him $500,000 before he got his secret extension that he got. They went the safe route. And Kruger, I think, it was kind of hard. He played a very boring style of basketball. And I think that it was very hard for fans to get behind that. I mean, Ryan, I'm sure you came out here for a couple games at Thompson Mack. Thompson Mack was a morgue. Like, 3,000 or 4,000 fans in there a night. Kruger's peak attendance, I think, was his second. He was here for 4 years. His second year, they averaged 5,200 fans a game. That stadium holds 18,000. It was just, fans couldn't get behind him. I think that, now you bring in Pastner. Pastner had a haul of a recruiting class. His transfer class was number 1 in the conference. He brought in a lot of guys. They got, fans excited. Him with just his very, Kruger was also very bland in a sense. You could just kind of tell, like, especially towards the end there, he was coaching for his job. He kind of knew the writing was on the wall. As much as some fans didn't want to see it, the writing was on the wall. It was time. And I think that, he also didn't really embrace the alumni side. There weren't very many players around the program that were there before. There weren't very many people that were coming around to practices, things like that. Now you have Pastner. I mean, Pastner from day one said he's going to get involved with the community, get involved with alumni, handle his recruiting trail. And sure enough, that he came back with the number one transfer portal class in the Mountain West. He brought in, size, length, athleticism. It's kind of, the era going back to like the Dave Rice style basketball. It's going to be up tempo. It's going to be exciting. I think just based off of that alone, whether they have a solid year or not, his year one, I think that's going to get people back in the seats by themselves. And I think if they win, then that's that's going to get people back in the Thompson Mack. And I think that's the biggest thing that they need. They need that Thompson Mack rocking and filled again.
I've actually never seen I've seen Mountain West Conference basketball games there, but I've never seen like a wild UNLV game there, like a home game during the regular season.
If you want some excitement, go back on YouTube and go look at like some of the games when they played Jimmer or when they played Kawhi Leonard. When they had 18,000 fans in there, it is loud and it is it's raucous in there. Oh,
I can do you one better. I'll probably find when they were the running Rebels. Like I said, man, I love history. So they played. They had some pretty tough teams when I was in college. Yeah, I'm trying. There was a guard that played. My buddy Joe would talk a lot of trash. I don't mean to go. Good. Oh no, I need to go. I didn't mean to ping pong. And one last question for you about football: is it playoff or bust this year?
I think I've been very adamant that the floor is 9. I think that they still have some demons that they need to take care of. I think that they haven't won at Colorado State since 2003. They haven't won at Wyoming. Yeah, they haven't won at Wyoming since 2002. They still have some demons in those coffins that they need to get over. And the thing that worries me about Mullen is kind of the same thing that I worried about with Dave Rice when he was coaching basketball. Dave Rice could get them up when they played Oregon, when they played North Carolina, when they played all those schools to beat those big schools, but he couldn't go win games at Wyoming, at Colorado State, at Air Force, places that those kids don't want to play at, really. So that's my concern. But I think that, it's a different time. I think that, people have different mindsets. They're getting paid. I mean, not saying they weren't getting paid before. They're getting paid legally. Like, I think, my whole thing is floor 9 to 10 wins. I think realistically, their 2 losses if they have 2 losses, will be to Boise State on the road and potentially UCLA at home. I think looking at their schedule, other than that, they have a very relatively easy schedule if they can get through the burden of beating Colorado State and Wyoming. But I think if they have 1 loss and that loss is the Boise State and they get a rematch with Boise State and they beat them the second time, I think they make the CFP. I honestly think if they would have beat Boise in the championship, they would have made the CFP last year. But I think realistically, it could be, like you said, it could be CFP or bust.
I find it, Jackson Woodard is a man crush of mine. So if you can ever speak to him and write something on him, and Ricky, say that 3 times fast, Ricky White III, he was a pleasure to talk to last year when we were at Media Days. I think it's funny. UNM plays Idaho State and UCLA this year, as well as UNLV. I find that funny. Mike, you were going to say something else. My bad.
Oh, I was going to say, if you look back on that team last year, there might be 4 guys from that UNLV team last year that might end up on an NFL roster. Ricky has a very good chance to make it in Seattle. He signed his rookie deal. I think he has a very good chance to make it just strictly off of his special team skills. He can make a roster strictly on that. Jackson Woodard, he got cut by Seattle, got picked up by Houston. Houston, Demeco Ryans, that's a really good fit for him. If he can figure it out there, I think, Demeco is a great piece. They were talking about Jonathan Baldwin making it in Green Bay. If he has a good training camp, they converted him from safety to DB. So we'll see if he can make that transition. But I think you might see 3 or 4 guys from that team last year on the roster next year.
I'm definitely pulling for Woodard and White. You can find him on Twitter. Mike, I'm sorry. What's your Twitter handle? And then the Scarlet Standard handle.
My personal Twitter is Cooper Mike LV. The Scarlet standard handle is SS_media LV. I will post if you want my personal takes and my personal tweets, go back and forth with me. Go right ahead. You can follow me on Twitter. If you just want my articles, my media writings, my clips from these player interviews, you're more than welcome to follow my media page. Thank you again for having me on. This was really great.
No, man, I was really, I got to shoot your stuff over to my buddy Isaac. His last name's Avalusea, and I praise him a lot on here. I worked with him in college, and he works in Philly now. He somehow ended up in my parents' neck of the woods and my motherland of New Jersey, and he covered New Jersey state politics in Trenton, which is what he should have been doing, not covering UNM athletics. And he now covers a little bit of sports for Axios Media in Philly. And then he covers city politics in, of all places, Philadelphia. I saw your writing and I thought of him. I know you don't know me that well, but I'm letting you know that is high praise. And like I said, my buddy Eric, my business partner in this endeavor, sent me over. I'll probably bug you during the season, but Mike, thanks for joining us tonight, man.
New Mexico plays in Vegas, right?
I'm already booked, man. I will be there.
I was gonna say, you can definitely hit me up. We can definitely meet up and we can maybe do something in person.
Sounds good, man. I will be in contact. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. That was Mike Cooper, not to be confused with UNM's Michael Cooper. And then our Jeffrey Gordon, not to be confused with NASCAR, Jeff Gordon. Nick, any takeaways before we take a quick commercial break and get to Nasty Nate Strong?
Man, we got Mike Cooper, Jeff Gordon, all these famous names, Ryan. I'm just Nick Nunez. I thought Mike Cooper was great, man. Great insight on UNLV football, UNLV basketball, brought in some takes on what the athletic department is doing with revenue share, media rights deals. I've personally read his stuff in the Scarlet Standard, the article that I asked him about, which I would encourage people to read, especially since it's a hot topic with the new media rights deal for the Mountain West, hopefully coming out very soon. But Mike wrote a piece, CBS picks his side, and the Mountain West just got replaced. You can find that on substack.com. Thought it was a great piece. Really like his writing, Ryan. And yeah, anytime I have a question about UNLV football or men's basketball, I'm going to the Scarlet Standard.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the writing. It's better than anything I've pumped out ever. I was really blown away because I thought he had done it professionally. So let me give you a big there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Nate Strong from an account executive for Playfly, works for UNM. I'm excited to talk to him. I'm not puking tonight, Nate, so I'm happy you're joining us. All right, we'll be right back. I got to take a quick commercial break because I'm becoming an old man. If you read between the lines there, we'll be right back. Ryan Tamori, Nick Nunez. This is the Pit Press Live.
It's time again for the ride of your life at Capital Ford. And the ride of your life begins now with employee pricing for everyone on new Fords. You pay what Ford employees pay. Employee pricing means buy a new 2025 Ford F-150 for just $599 a month. Or buy a new 2025 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, only $499 a month during our Ride of Your Life event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
All right. Well, I hit the button too fast there. I'm a terrible host and a terrible producer. Hey, let me hit you with the triple hey. Hey, hey! Clarcy the Clown, Will Ferrell as Harry Carey, and Robin Thicke. God, that sounds like 12 years old now. Appreciate Mike Cooper from the Scarlet Standard. And I'm joined tonight not by the Lobo fan since 1970 or the voice of Western New Mexico. I'm joined by the ProView producer, play-by-play, Mr. Nick Nunez, as I call Steven Seagal Lawman.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. It's been great.
I just love the bass here.
Yeah. Fair. No, it's been great, man. It's been great. Looking forward to talking to our next guest about Playfly.
I'm not going to make him wait any longer, and I'm really sorry to irritate some of his fans. One particular named Kevin, but here we go. All right. He is. I've met this guy many a time. And we've shot the you-know-what because he's friends with some of my friends. And he happens to work for UNM. And I always tell him, dude, I'm not trying to shoot the shit with you all the time, but this is what I do. Yeah, I know. I do this in my spare time. He is a former manager for the UNM men's basketball team. He now works for UNM, and he's in that front office that I have done a 180 on with the youth and with Lovo, the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Berryman, Jaylee Dominguez, Amy Began. I hope I didn't repeat myself. He's an account executive for Playfly Sports under UNM. I don't understand it. I'll learn a little bit about it, but Mr. Nate Strong, yeah. Nate, I've been bugging you for about 2 months now, and I'm finally happy to join. You can join us tonight. How are you, man? I can't even talk.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. I think my boss is tuned in, so maybe you can ask him for a new title. I need account executive doesn't sound as cool as it sounds, but super, super blessed to be a part of that whole office. And it's incredible. I work down the hall from the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Berryman. So I'm very, very lucky.
He's going to hear this joke again if he's watching, and you'll get it. He's in being that we share the same name. I always forget the third one, but there's the more successful, much more attractive Ryans, which are Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds. And I'm going to throw Ryan Berryman into that group just because he's given Ryan's a good name. Unlike
I'm with that. I can agree with that. Yeah, you are too. I'll put you in that group.
I appreciate that. I need to get a haircut and fix my chipped tooth.
I have a barber.
Yeah, maybe I'll go to him. No great clips for me. Can you tell your story about being, how you found yourself at UNM, and you're very tied to the basketball community there? I know you're boys with Anthony Mathis, but I will let you tell our listeners, viewers, your story.
Yeah. Hi, Mom. So freshman year of high school, I went to La Cueva. I was very, very, very blessed to meet Bryce Alford, one of my best friends, like a brother to me. From there, I was able to meet him. Corey took me under his wing. Steve took me under his wing, Steve Alford. And from there, I was able to just meet a whole group of great people, and I've been able to kind of hitch my wagon to all that. And it's been, I just turned 29. It's been beautiful. I've had the greatest life. Shout out Bryce, shout out Corey. But yeah, so Steve Alford, Coach Alford, obviously left to UCLA back in 2014, and I was able to hitch my wagon to that and join the whole journey. And from there, I mean, I've just been able to meet the best people. And so I was out there for 3 years. I was with, obviously Bryce, top 5 scorer at UCLA for sure. Best 3-point shooter of all time. But so I was able to, meet a lot of great people. I've been very, very blessed since my freshman year of high school. Steve took me under his wing. He sent me back to UNM after Bryce had graduated and went and played for the Thunder. Was able to meet Ryan Behrman. And basically, I think Coach Alford just kind of pawned me off to Ryan. And and it's been a beautiful blessing ever since. Met Ryan when I was in college, and he obviously rose his way to the top. And I went out to Nevada for a couple of years with Coach Alford after coming back, and I moved back to Albuquerque. And I said, "Hey Ryan, can you find me a job?" And man, before I knew it, he found me a job at UNM. And I found my absolute niche in doing kind of the advertisement sales for UNM. So essentially we generate the revenue, and it's just been awesome. I've been so blessed the last, 10, 12 years. So shout out Bryce.
We had him on our show a year or two ago to promote his camp, which we might have to do now. I don't know if it's back in town.
Yeah, we got to get it back. We got to get back, Ryan.
Yeah, dude, I was looking at his stats before we had him on, and the UCLA stats, and I was like, holy hell. Like, he's like top 3, top 5, everything. And when you think about UCLA basketball, so I'm glad you brought that back up. Did you play basketball? And again, man, I'm sorry, I don't know your full background. You played basketball at La Cueva then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was homecoming king too, but no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I played basketball with Bryce, and I remember I was a freshman at lunch one day, and I just went up to Bryce and talked to him. And I was like, "What's up, man?" And he took me under his wing, and then next thing you know, Corey likes me. Next thing you know, Coach Alford likes me, and ever since, man, I've been very, very, very blessed. And everything I have been able to do, which is not a lot, I'm not very capable of a ton, but I've been very blessed by that whole family. Love my dad to death, but I always tell people that Coach Alford's like my second dad. So it's just been beautiful ever since. I mean, I was 20. We're talking 2011. So it's been a long time, and through Coach Alford having that credibility, having the capability of being able to hang out with Bryce and Corey, and I've been able to pick their brain, and through that I was able to meet Ryan Behrman, and man, I've just been trying to learn and grow with these people, and they take me under their wing, and it's honestly awesome. I'm very, very, very lucky. So
I'm going to throw it to Nick here after this question, or a comment. I covered, now I don't know if this is bragging or not. I've, in this town, I've always, my buddy Mike Matas, who I name drop a lot on here. He, having the pleasure of covering Steve Alford, at the Daily Lobo, which is what my career path, what I chose to allow me to get on here and talk out my ass on this show. But Alfred was always cool with me, man. So you and I have a lot. I mean, you're obviously more entwined with that, but Steve was always cool with me. And when we've been in Vegas for Mountain West Conference basketball media days, he just like makes a beeline straight over to me, and he's like, "Hey, tell Mike the Cardinals suck." So you and I also have that.
Yeah.
You and I also have that in common. And I just realized I forgot you're a Cardinals fan, but that's coming out.
Yeah, easy. Yeah,
that's not coming out of my mouth. I'm gonna throw it over to Nick, man.
Hey, Nate, nice to meet you, man. I don't think I've officially met you, but thanks for coming on. You mentioned your friendship with Bryce Alford, had the privilege of watching him play in high school. I think you guys graduated maybe around 2013.
Yeah.
But, you followed Bryce's career through college and through his professional career. Like, how close was he to making it to the NBA?
Man, I've answered that question a couple of times. He I think when you get to that high of a level, it's just the right fit. So he was obviously good enough to play, right? But he was at the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is a great fit. But when you get to that high of a level, it's kind of like right place, right time. So he deserves to be in the NBA. He was good enough. I mean, I don't know if he's watching, but his defense probably could have been a little better. But man, that guy, he's a workhorse.
He would fit right into the NBA then.
I mean, he can jack that thing. You know what I'm saying? He can.
That's what matters today.
He can shoot that.
That's what matters.
I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, but he can shoot that.
I do all the time.
Okay. Yeah, he can shoot that fucker. So, he's high level. I've been, because of him, I've been blessed to work out in the same gym as, Norman Powell, Lonzo Ball, Corey Alford. You want to talk about shooters? You want to talk about real shooters? Corey Alford. Good passers. You want to talk about good passers? Kane Martinez. Yeah. So I've been because not to circle around the whole wagon, but because of Bryce, I've been able to do a lot of this cool stuff. And I know, a lot of pros practice at that UCLA facility. And because I was around that UCLA facility for 3 years, I've been able to, cross paths with a lot of great basketball players, a lot of great people, and just really, really lucky.
For sure, man. And then kind of wanted to switch gears to your job and talk to you a little bit about Playfly Sports. What affiliation does Playfly Sports have with UNM Sports Properties?
Yeah, so I mean, we're the third party. I guess we're hired to generate revenue. A lot of people kind of recognize it as Learfield. I don't know if you know what Learfield is, but we're the next in line. We're the up and coming company, and I reached out to Ryan a couple years ago, and he found me the job, and it's a perfect mix of what I've done in the past and what I wanted to do. So it was a beautiful fit, and it's been great. It's interesting because now we're allowed to essentially sell the players, I guess, because of NIL. There's a lot of fine lines with all that. So I'm excited for everything that's about to come, but it's been awesome. I love working. I mean, I work down the hall from the AD and Ryan and Ed Manzanares and all that. So we're all in the same capacity, and we're all working toward the same goal, and it's been beautiful.
Nate, how has your job been different, man, now that, the university can revenue share with its student athletes? How has your job changed because of that?
So it's still all kind of new. It's still kind of like we're still kind of doing groundbreaking stuff here, but essentially, and Ryan can correct me if I'm wrong, but the athletes are our employees now. So we're essentially allowed to sell them. So, and in my case scenario, I would love to benefit those athletes, and I want to make sure they make as much money as they can or do what they can, meet their full capability. So it's very, very new. Ever since the house settlement, there's still a little bit of gray lines, but I'm excited to, I started the job as selling assets. You can have your LED on the court, and now I'm able to sell the athletes. You want to do a video with, some of our, Habat from our cross country team. He's great. So like, it's still a new process, but my job is to generate revenue for the university and generate revenue for the athletes and all that. So we're still kind of going through it all, but we do a great job here with Fern and RB and everybody. It's kind of a new underlying kind of thing, but I'm excited to see where it opens up my job a little bit, right? Because I'm able to sell more things. So
what is it like working with Berryman, and what is it like working with Lovo? and what was kind of the regime change there? I mean, like I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder. I've just said it a lot. What's the youth movement over there? You got to probably like that you're not working with a bunch of old farts.
No, I mean, so hey, I love Fern. I love RB. Jalen's great. Ed Manzanares, the whole crew's great. We have a really good culture there. It's been beautiful. My new boss, I have a new GM. His name is Brent Moore. I don't know if you're watching, Brent, but I love you. He's great. It's all good. It's fun. I mean, all of us are just working our tails off every day to try to, make an impact, really.
Do you converse with Amy Began a lot? I mean, she was a pretty damn good basketball player here too.
She's great.
Do you talk trash to her? Do you tell her that maybe you could beat her at a one-on-one or anything like that?
I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, I would for sure. I mean, a lot of my followers right now would be able to condone that. But yeah, no, I mean, she could probably take me one-on-one. But she's high level. She's awesome. She's a workhorse. She's great. So.
With you being around Pauley Pavilion, and then you were at the Lawler Event Center in Reno, and then you tootle around the pit and the University Stadium. But I mean, the pit is obviously iconic. Do you ever, I do that when I go to work there. I'm like, holy hell, like this is pretty. I have to punch myself metaphorically in my own face, or kick my own ass, just like when I get angry at things. But it's cool to be there, and I'm traveling with the team, and I'm rambling. But like when you're walking around the pit and it was sold out, I'm going to use last year as an example. It's sold out. It's rocking. Do you take a look back and you're like, this is pretty cool?
I mean, so I've been blessed with a lot of cool venues, cool stadiums and stuff. But there is nothing like the pit, man. There is nothing like the pit. I find it hard to lose games at the pit with our fans. It's unreal. It's the loudest stadium I've been in. Utah State can battle a little bit. BYU can battle. But the pit wins games, man. The pit is beautiful. It is one of one. And it's a good time. So, I mean, that's what we kind of pride ourselves on. We love the pit.
What have you thought about the new hires, being that it's the changing regime? I'll ask what you think about Eric Olin and Jason Eck.
Beautiful. I mean, hey, Coach Eck is great. I love Coach Eck. I want to be friends with Coach Eck. I love to be friends with everybody. And I would love to hang out with Coach Eck some more. And Coach Olin, he's great. He is all about business. He is legit. I think his mind's a little like a level higher than all of us when it comes to basketball. So he's a freak. He's a guru. He's very high level, and he's on pace to do what he does. So
I lose a lot of money on a lot of mid-major basketball, as I always say on the show. So
man.
UCSD was very kind to me last year, though. Thursday nights, man. That's all I do. I was watching
WCC. Yeah.
WCC, big dude. My buddy Jacob that joins us. We are nerds when it comes to that shit. And
love that.
Yeah, dude. They were a lot of fun to watch. Do you I'll end it with this question. Do you think they don't miss a beat? Like the basketball team can keep this back to back NCAA tournament berths thing alive?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The people we've brought in, he's done an incredible job of pulling people in, and he brings in good guys. He's very smart. He knows exactly what he needs to run the program that he wants. Ryan kind of oversees all that stuff. And according to Ryan, I mean, not to put words in his mouth, but he's we're liking where we're at, and it's fun. He's a good dude. Both of the football and basketball coach, incredible people. And that's a little bit of condolence to Fern, like Fern's incredible. He's been an awesome guy. He's worked his tail off. He's very, very, culture oriented. And the two coaches he's brought in through that, which is most ADs, he's been an AD for 8 months. He's hired his football and basketball coach, which most ADs aren't doing that. and he's able to have his 2 guys in, and he's been able to get his 2 guys that he wanted. And he's done an incredible job of doing that. And so the whole culture is incredible still. Fern's a great dude. Coach Olin, Coach Eck is a great dude. So we have the culture to do it. The landscape that's going on with the whole college athletics right now is whatever it is, but like we're doing the right thing over here at UNM. So it's all good.
My man, thank you for joining us tonight. I just wanted to get you on to shoot the, you know what, I can't thank you enough for your time. And I know I bugged you a lot, and then I was sick, and then I was busy, and I know you're busy, and I'm a dad. So we're everybody on the show is a dad. So that makes things even more difficult, but we try to keep consistent with this. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, Tamar, I got a question. I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Hey, where does this rank in the top? I mean, you've had a lot of good people on here, right? Top 10.
I try.
Top 3. Where am I?
You're number 1 in my heart.
Okay, well, I'm at the number 1 chair. Shout out Corey Alford. Shout out Ed Manzanares. Shout out Dante Maleta. Shout out Janae Berryman. Shout out my mom, dad. Coach Olin's great, and we love him. But, who knows, 10, 20 years from now, there's this guy named Corey Alford. So,
hey, that's what is it, June 10th, 2025. I'll remember that. Dude, no, seriously, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and joining us. I think it was kind of also a different avenue of, somebody else in the department. And I run into you a lot. I think so. I have this thing of not just my friends, like you've met. I don't call him Boo, but Stephen Pini, I've known since 4th grade. I know I throw Mike out a lot there. But I always run into you in passing, and we're friendly, but I always in the back of my mind, and this makes me probably a weird expletive. Like there's guys that I'm like, God damn it, they're really funny. And you're in that group. I think you're funny. So I appreciate you. I appreciate coming on here. That's why I was trying to tell you at Troy's birthday party. I was like, dude, I don't like to be serious all the time. I've got a sense of humor.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you do like an explicit episode of this stuff, I can come back, but I was trying to stay as professional as I can.
Well, no, I wanted you to stay as professional as you could, because my business partner gets after me a lot for not being the most professional person, even though I take pride in the writing and our site. Ask Nick. But yeah, man, Nate, I appreciate your time tonight, dude, and I'll be seeing you around.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me out. Nick, it was very nice to meet you. Couple more shout outs. Shout out Bryce, shout out Corey, shout out Ryan, shout out Coach Alford. But thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. And if you guys do like a rated R version of this stuff,
I will bring
sign me up.
You're the first person I'll call. That is Nate Strong.
Oh yeah.
From
Playfly
Sports. Yep, Playfly Sports and UNM, dude. Thanks a lot, man. That Nick, now you know why I asked him to come on, because I thought he would be some comic relief to my terrible comic relief. What'd you think?
Dude, I love his energy, man. I've never met him. I think he's got some mutual friends or people that I know that he knows. Drew Herrig, who I think you know, Ryan. I think I may have seen that they may be friends, but he's got great energy, man. I think he's doing great things with the UNM athletic department. I really liked his ties to the Alford family, just the kind of inside story to one of Bryce Alford's, closest confidants while he was here in Albuquerque. I mean, Bryce Alford was damn good, Ryan. I'm sure you saw clips of him. I don't know if you got to see him in high school, but him and Colin Neal dominated New Mexico high school basketball from like 2010 to 2013 here in the Duke City. Just such a show to watch. Their games would get packed. I mean, that's why I asked him, like, how close was Bryce to making it to the NBA? And I think he's right. If you look at it, I think one of the things he said was it's about fit. Do you fit into, that particular program, that team in the NBA? Defensively, like Nate hit, he may have been a little bit of a liability at the NBA level, but could shoot, was an elite shooter. And just, really enjoyed having Nate Strong on, right?
Yeah, man. We got to get, I guess I'll ask Nate or somebody if Bryce is doing his camp. I hope it's not next week when we're in Vegas, but I'd love to have him on. I mean, your dad and I had Brandon Mason and Rye Berryman on last year in Vegas at Stadium Swim at Circa. I I liked talking to Nate, and I know he worked at UNM, and I was like, you know what? We've had all these guys on. I have a personal relationship with you. Just come on. So I'm glad he did. And I was supposed to have him on in May, and it was the night that I had like legit food poisoning. And I made the mistake of watching Gangs of New York. And if you've ever watched Gangs of New York, it's just a disgusting movie to look at. And like that movie made me sicker because I chose to watch it that night. Anyway, it's weird. I was trying to think of any other news. Nick, do you have anything else on the plate?
No, I mean, obviously, Mountain West Media Football Days next week, Ryan. I'll let you speak to that. I think it was Mike Cooper earlier talked about July 15th. That's, I believe, next Tuesday. That's a significant day for the Mountain West Pac-12 lawsuit. That is the day that the stay is supposed to be lifted. They're supposedly in mediation negotiations right now to try to settle the Pac-12's claims against the Mountain West that the poaching penalties were a violation of antitrust law. So hopefully that gets resolved. The Mountain West is expecting some money from that to distribute to its remaining members. So yeah, potentially some news on the legal front, Ryan, while you guys are in Vegas.
Yeah, funny story today. Not with legality, but I booked. I'm trying to take at least a few hours to enjoy a vacation next week. Well, not vacation, time off, because we'll be there working. Because everybody's like, "Oh, you're going to Vegas." I'm like, "Yeah, there are people work in Las Vegas." So we will be busy Wednesday and Thursday, and then we shoot back on Thursday night. We fly back. But I booked, and if you've never been to Circa is amazing, and it's 21 and over. They have the stadium swim, and then they have the world's largest sports book. And you see it a lot. Like if you follow anything on social media, I'm probably lecturing people now. But I wanted to book a reserve in their sports book for the MLB All-Star game next Tuesday night. Well, I was not paying attention today, and I booked it for tonight from 5 Pacific to 9 Pacific, and I got a text at like 6:30 our time, like, "Are you showing up?" And it was a property management guy at and I was like, "Wait a second, I thought I booked it for next Tuesday." And he was like, "No, you booked it for tonight." So he was cool, and they're going to reserve something for us, which I would imagine your dad, and I know Sean Ryder and Brad Benson from KRQE are going to be out there. So I'll probably book it for 6. And if they want to show up, they can show up. But I know Neff and I have to sit and watch the All-Star game. It's, I know All-Star games are probably given a lot of crap, but I still think the MLB All-Star game is the best because they actually can play. So there was my funny, stupid story with that, but I don't know. We'll have our eyes on that next Tuesday. We are in the dog days of summer. There has not been much news. I know there's stuff going on with the track and field. I don't pay close attention to it. There's a match play at Twin Warriors. Lobo men's and golf returned to NB3. Nota Begay. I didn't see that. The Nota Begay, where was it? It's NB3. NB3 match play for 2025 events. So there's that. I'm on golobos.com. What else do we got going on here? Pamela, I always butcher her name. I had to ask Frank how to pronounce it. She's Pamela. Did you ask how to pronounce it, Nick?
Kozgai.
Pamela Kozgai, named as a finalist for the Bowerman. Again, I don't follow track and field that much. I probably should with the success we've had here. Very quickly, we didn't do a 2-hour show tonight, so I can cap off my night by playing NCAA football. What was I gonna type in? How many days from August 30th? We're 51 days from August 30th, so tomorrow is 50 days from the start of Lobo football. So there's that. Plan of attack next week for us in Vegas, not to bore everybody. A live show Wednesday night. I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe Tuesday afternoon. I gave our plans for Tuesday, even though we're going to work. Look out. We will be live Wednesday with the players. It'll be offensive lineman Richard Pierce and edge rusher Gabe Lopez. I'm trying to lock down times. We will promote that, and we will broadcast that. We will be live with them, at least UNM, and or at least I think so. I guess I have to talk to Frank again, but that's the idea. And then Thursday with Jason Eck, so look out for that. And then we'll do a live show Wednesday night. The players, if you watch the Mountain West channel, the players are available Wednesday. I should probably say Mountain West Network. And then Thursday will be the coaches. And then I'm basically starting my coverage for football. So look out for more stuff on football. I have something written and I'm trying to get it posted. I'm trying to learn as much about Idaho State, the home opener, as I can. So there's that. Also, another thing, Nick Coppola today, my Nick, Ed's Nick Coppola from the Las Cruces Sun News. There's so many Nicks and Nate, dude. Ned, when your dad's on with Ned, I'm like, I hope I say the right thing. And then tonight it was Nate and Nick. But anyway, Nick Coppola tweeted out that NMSU basketball accidentally tweeted out their schedule. Conference USA is announcing their conference schedule tomorrow. So I'm wondering if this week or I don't know if Mountain West would do it next week during football, but I'm wondering tomorrow if we might have a Mountain West conference schedule for UNM, which would be fascinating because we would know their last games in Boise, at San Diego, at Utah State, and then the first 2 games against GCU in the conference. So there's that. I don't know if you saw that, Nick.
I did see the news about New Mexico State. I haven't looked to see if the schedule is out. I would like for UNM to figure out what their men's basketball and women's basketball schedules are going to be for all the reasons you said, Ryan. I mean, we are trying to travel more with the teams this year. I know you're going to be going to virtually every away football game. We hope to go to many men's and women's basketball games as we can. And so, yeah, man, I would love to go to Spectrum in Logan. Last game up there, potentially. Great atmosphere. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to when that schedule gets finalized.
Yeah, Spectrum's on the list this year. Viejas is on the list. I'm going to Boise again because I have a friend. I have friends up there that I can stay with. Yeah, and as I've mentioned, this is what I pursued. So for me to travel with a football team, I am booked for all the away games. I will be in Detroit, and then I will get to go see the Mets on Labor Day against the Tigers. So I'm very happy I get to cross Comerica Park off my list. I'll be in Ann Arbor. I'll be in Pasadena, San Jose, Boise, and then Vegas. And then personally, I don't come back from Vegas. I fly from fabulous Las Vegas to fabulous Newark, New Jersey. Nick, that's sarcasm and a joke. That's second part of it. When your dad flew to Italy, I asked him, I said, hey, did you see the city? And he was like, no. I was like, you can see the city from the airport. And then my cousin came from Staten Island, came to a workshop in Albuquerque. And I said, what'd you think of the mountains? And he's like, what mountains are you talking about? So I don't know. I guess if you don't get outside much, but you can see the city from the terminal. Here, let's go to the comments. Yeah, the only flight I'm not booked for is Colorado. I mean, I might drive up there because my mom's actually a big college football fan. We might make a trip out of it. And if you've never seen a game at Air Force, it's a spectacle. I've been to a homecoming game there, and it was phenomenal. They played UNM. Be careful what you wish for, Nick. Utah has some nice winters, meaning snow, and Ogden is a drive. They're in Logan. Logan's like 10, 15 minutes from the airport. I did not know that. I did my homework the other day. Yeah, not Ogden, Logan. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, I appreciate the comment, Ronnie. You're absolutely right. I do have some family that lives close in Evanston, Wyoming, who I was hoping to see out there. So we'll see. But like you mentioned, Ryan, there's a few venues that we would like to check out this year. Perhaps the departing Mountain West schools, get some coverage at those games. We hope to do some of that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. We're gonna have to go to Cruces this year too. That would be a big one. Once again, we'll be in Vegas last week. Check out the Pit Press Plus, $19.99 for the year. We'll get some more we're getting through the dog days of summer. It's July 10th. I don't know where. Last Friday was the 4th of July. I cannot believe it. Where has the year gone? And football, there is physical football this month. The Hall of Fame game is the 31st because of the way the calendar falls this year. That blows my mind. And Labor Day is what on the September 1st. Yeah, because there's 31 days in August. We're getting an education here. All right. I want to thank Mike Cooper from the Scarlet Standard. Not that Mike Cooper. Mike Cooper that writes. Check him out. Hit up on Twitter, the Scarlet Standard. His writing, I don't, and I think a lot of our listeners, like and I'm saying this a lot lately, I calls it as I sees it. His writing is better than mine. Like and I'm not saying I'm good. Like I went to school for that. You think I'd be better is what I'm saying. So his writing is really, really good. We need to get Arch on. Arch is starting to write for us slowly, probably more towards this, the football season, the academic calendar. He'll post out more. I was hoping to get something from him once every 2 weeks, once a week during the summer. I think he probably, if he hears something over at Media Days, he's not going to be with us, but he might write something. So again, if you're, this is not a knock on anybody. If you're of a certain age and you used to be able to pick up a newspaper, Greg Archuleta covered the UNM football team from the late 90s to 2009, 10 under Rocky Long. And then he was a sports information director and a media contact for UNM. So again, look out for us live next Wednesday in Vegas. We'll post times with the players, Richard Pearson, Gabe Lopez, and then obviously everybody's new favorite Borqueño, which I rarely say, or New Mexican, Jason Eck, he and his family. And if you haven't played the new college football 26, it is much better than last year. I was just excited to have it back last year. The gameplay, is a little bit better. It's like Madden, but I mentioned it to your dad the other night, Nick, that they have to put a patch in because all the coaches are in this year. And I guess before like this final copy, they didn't have Jason Eck in there. So he'll be in the patch, but at least he had a playful thing to change his name to the coach that's in the game. I think it's Wyatt Emmett or something. So he changed his name on Twitter to that. So that was funny. But anyway, would you be excited for the NCAA basketball video game? Yes, I played a couple back in the day. But I will play this one because I'm sure they will probably be able to put a lot of the arenas in the game. But I'm all about college football 26. Like I've mentioned a lot of things. As I mentioned a lot of times, I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm good at Madden and I'm good at college football 26. All right. Just go to the comments real quick. Yeah. John Romero thought, Michael Cooper was on tonight. Serious question for Mr. Cooper. Is there a statue of Tart the Shark on UNLV's campus if there is an administrator's list? There isn't, I don't think. I can answer that question for you. I mean, he, was kind of ridden in some stuff there. UNLV here it is, has a statue. Jerry Tarkanian has been there for 15 years. It is in front of the Thomas and Mack Center. There you go. Tommy Gunn, famous porn star and Rocky V character, Tommy Gunn. Tommy, I know you're in Vegas. Thanks for watching.
It's a great name, Ryan.
I know. I love it. Is Tommy Gunn. I believe the adult film actor spells it with 2 N's. Wasn't there a college basketball game before? Yes, there was. NCAA basketball 2K and then March Madness by EA Sports. Yeah. Just give it a quick Google. I think the last one I owned had Blake Griffin on the cover. I don't know why they stopped making those. And then obviously the Ed O'Banion stuff, they stopped making NCAA football, and NCAA football 2014 was like the holy grail. So I'm glad it's back. I saw the PlayStation 5 tells you how many hours you play a game. And I looked at what I played last year and I was like, holy moly. I had probably should do more and work on our site. Anyway, I'm tired of rambling. Nick, thanks for joining tonight, man.
Of course, man. Of course. I know you're plugging the things that we're going to do, just the coverage that we've given on the site. We've got a lot of basketball content. We've previewed pretty much every single men's basketball player. So go to our site, thepitpressnm.com. Check it out. Check out our written content on UNM men's basketball, putting some coverage on the house settlement, how UNM's handling it. Had a piece on GCU, what their men's basketball program brings to the Mountain West Conference. I know Eric's working on some stuff. I've got some ideas, Ryan. Got to talk to you maybe when we get off. But, yeah, check out our website at thepitpressnm.com.
No, thank you for plugging that because I do a terrible job of that. And as I've told you, when I was in the media industry, you don't get thank you a lot. So thank you for your work. I will say this. I'm very Jacob, I'm going to say this on the record. Jacob and I are very, very upset that you're not going to Vegas because we wanted to see you roll your eyes at your dad.
Dude, I know. I remember Neff's text about that, and I'm ticked that I, can't go, man. If it wasn't for work, I would go. Like you said though, and I think like Mike Cooper was saying when he was on with us earlier. I mean, we got day-to-day jobs, man. Like we do this for fun because we enjoy it because we want to bring good coverage of UNM athletics. So work got in the way, but I know you guys are going to kill it out there.
I've been lucky when we started this thing with my background, whether I'm good at it or not. And then I got to give a shout out to Eric Moulton, and I'm going to make a PG-13 or rated R comment here. I'm not trying to stroke us all off. Like the team that we've got here, I'm very, very excited for. This is probably one of the more rated R episodes we've had in a while because I've watched my language, but thanks to Nate Strong for being one that dropped the F-bomb and not me. We'll keep a lookout on our go ahead. You gotta say something, Nick?
One more thing, Ryan. I'm sorry. I think we're planning on a road to the pit on Sunday at 7 p.m. Yeah. We're going to have UNM commit Hayes Baum from Cibola High School, linebacker, join us. I'm very excited to chat with him. I think we may try to get on Curtis Vigil from the Albuquerque Basketball Officials Association to talk about an officials camp for New Mexico officials, again, hosted by Ed Nunez, my dad, the voice of Western New Mexico athletics. I'm happy to join him. And we hope to bring that to you at 7 p.m. on Sunday.
Give me a moment. All right, perfect. Thanks for that, Nick. Look out on our socials for what the contact we're going to bring you next week in Vegas. And thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to Mike Cooper. Thanks to Nate Strong. Much appreciated. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. And as I always say, don't do anything that I would do. And we appreciate everybody that watches.